Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM, AM 630. WMAL.
8:07 on a Wednesday morning with the Morning Majority. Michael Steele, former head of the RNC, former Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, and now an MSNBC contributor, is on the phone. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How's it going, Brian? And you got Mary Catherine. How you doing?
Good.
You saved the best for last, as always.
Yeah.
I've noticed this trend. Have you noticed this, Wilson? This trend of people always making sure that they say hi to Mary Catherine?
Yeah, it's like, you guys too.
Yeah. No. I feel bullied. I feel
harassed.
I feel harassed.
It's not fair. I'm going to file a complaint.
Look, it's good to hear Brian Wilson. He's a good man. He's a solid journalist and news hound, and so you guys got a great team there.
You're very kind, and I have also said sweet things about you, but I won't repeat them now.
All right. Don't ask, don't tell, and we'll move on then.
The Bryans are whining again.
So everybody's, it seems, I shouldn't say everybody, there's this push, though, for Chris Christie to get in the race. Gave a big speech last night at the Reagan Library. What do you make of this, draft Chris Christie for 012, or 12, I should say, not 012?
Well, I think it's very heartfelt, obviously, and folks are very serious about it. But I think it's a little bit misplaced, and I think, quite frankly and very honestly, it undermines the individuals who are currently running, some of whom have been running for some time. It distracts from what they're trying to convey to the American people, because we've got some idealized view of who this super candidate is supposed to be. No one can articulate exactly what qualification or qualities this super candidate is supposed to have. They thought Donald Trump had it at one time. Mm-hmm. They thought Michelle Bachmann had it at one time. They thought that Governor Perry had it. And now it's Chris Christie. Mitch Daniels had. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's ludicrous. And in my estimation, it has done more to undermine the credibility of our candidates and the eventual nominee than it has done anything else. So I listened to the governor's speech. It was heartfelt, his response to the woman who implored that he run. Mm-hmm. But he has to know in his own heart whether or not he's ready to go through this gauntlet. And trust me, the governor's position on a number of issues is going to be problematic for him, just as everyone loved Governor Perry, hard-charging, conservative, just strong, and then, immigration, wait a minute, time out. Right. So, you have to take these candidates as they are, and they're putting it on the line to represent the best of America in this fight against the administration, where they believe a lot of values and a lot of principles have been undermined by the policies of the Obama administration. Let them have that conversation. No one else is getting in this race at this point. It is crazy to think so, because they don't have the money, nor, more importantly, the organization to get on every ballot in the country. Just ask Fred Thompson, ask General West, who got in late, who wound up not being on every ballot and consequently became a national embarrassment because they couldn't compete in every state.
Democrats have started to develop a narrative that they're putting out there more and more and more. In some quarters, not everyone, but some quarters are saying, these Tea Party people, they're a bunch of racists. You got to watch out for those guys, because they don't like black people. Now, you were an African-American man who was once in charge of the Republican Party, and you've been to many of these Tea Party events. You've been around the country. Herman Cain says, he doesn't think that's the case. He says, look, you could go to a Tea Party meeting and you'll be welcomed. Tell me how you feel when you hear that narrative being thrown up by the other side.
Well, given that this is a family show, I'll just keep it to this point. I think it's baloney, and the reality of it is a narrative that has been allowed to fester in the body politic, and I think it's undermined in many respects the momentum that we saw grow between 2009 and 2010. When I look at my first meeting with what was then this fledgling group of individuals who called themselves loosely this Tea Party thing here in Washington and around the country in early 2009, I saw grandmas and granddads, small business owners, African Americans, whites, Hispanics, a whole cross-section of America coming together, rallying around certain ideas that they believe are being undermined by government. They believe strongly that they, in this principle that they get to chart the course of America, not institutions of government. So now you've moved from that to a situation where you just described, Brian, people view them as racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, anti-whatever. And that's just not the case. And that's allowed to happen because it's not this sort of controlled, top-down organizational structure. So when you hear that noise, someone will stand up and speak out against it. When it's loosely cobbled together the way the Tea Party structure is, it's much easier to attack it because who's going to stand up and defend it?
There's no one spokesman who emerges, right?
Right. And it becomes much more difficult to do that. So it requires then, a concerted effort by everyone who's involved in the movement to make sure that the truth is out there about what they are about and what they're doing and what they believe.
Michael, I wonder what you think about the strategy of somebody like Perry jumping into the race a little later. I had thought at the beginning, well, that's probably a good idea because you don't want to jump in any sooner. You just start taking hits. But some have made the point that he might be more prepared for debates by now had he gotten in earlier, and some of these attacks would have gotten out of the way earlier so that he could sort of move on from them. I wonder what you think of the tactics.
I agree with that, and it's akin to what we saw Rudy Giuliani do in 2008. He got in with a strategy that I'm going to compete and I'm going to start the campaign for president in Florida, and so New Hampshire and Iowa weren't a part of the mix.
Right.
Perry got in with the strategy that if I get in late, people will be so tired of these other guys that, I'll be the knight in shining armor. We'll come in, we'll do a couple of, rah-rahs, then we'll move on. Well, a funny thing happens on the way to the coronation. You got to actually engage your opponents. You've got to engage with the media, and the people look at you a lot differently. And I think for both of these situations, the strategy on paper may have worked, but, like Giuliani, he should have done a little bit more earlier on. He should have played, Giuliani should have played in Iowa and had a presence in New Hampshire. Perry should have thought, well, maybe, if we're going to go in, these are the weaknesses and vulnerabilities. If I'm not a good debater, then we need to, at least quietly do debate prep. Whatever it takes to once you get in, you're ready to hit the ground on the strategy that you put in place and not get tripped up by the very elemental aspects of running for president.
All right, Michael, it's always good to have you on the program. Thanks for checking back in. We love watching you on MSNBC as well.
Thank you so much, Brian. Take care of yourself, and you guys behave now.
All right.
We'll do our best.